Councilman Woodford.
Present.
Councilman Henry.
Here.
Mayor Shelton.
Here.
Vice Mayor Epps.
Here.
Councilman Womack.
Here.
All present.
All right. At this time, we'd like to stand. Any of those that wish to do so to stand as we have our invocation given tonight by Pastor Mark Gaw of Washington Avenue Baptist Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Can we pray, please? Lord, we do want to thank you for our city council, and we pray, God, as they meet tonight, that you would give them guidance and leadership as they make decisions this evening. And I want to thank you for Cookeville, and thank you for this wonderful city we live in, that we'll continue to live in a safe and a peaceable city. And thank you most of all for Christ, who died on that cross. Through him we have the gift of eternal life. In his wonderful name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3, consider approval of agenda as presented. Are there any changes?
Mayor, there are no changes to the agenda.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Item 4A, consider appointment to the Cookeville Planning Commission. Mr. Mills.
Mayor and council members, due to the recent resignation of Roy Lustenheiser, we have an opening on our planning commission. This term would go through 2018. Mr. Jim Cobb has been contacted and agreed to serve, and we would recommend his appointment.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion
Second.
is second. Any discussion?
Thank you for serving.
Yes, Mr. Cobb's here tonight. Thank you, sir. All right. Any other discussion? All vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you.
All right. This time, 4B, it is our honor to recognize the Cookeville High School Lady Cavaliers soccer team. I guess we need to recognize people more often so we can have a bigger crowd like this. This is awesome. We appreciate so much you all being here. And we have a proclamation that we'll read for you, and then we would like for you to come up, and we'll have a picture, some of you in front and some behind, and the newspaper will make a picture with us. So let me read this proclamation in your all's honor. Whereas the Cookeville High School Lady Cavaliers soccer team has experienced a stellar 2015 season both on the field and in the classroom, and whereas the team's accomplishments have encompassed many significant events, including the distinguished title of district champions, holding the best defensive record of any CHS soccer team, as well as qualifying for the state tournament. And whereas the team's statistics consist of 93 goals scored, 28 goals allowed, and 14 shutouts over the season, all leading to competition with the best teams across the state. And whereas the CHS Lady Cavaliers have exhibited exemplary academic records as well, having a 4.59 GPA for the varsity team, with both varsity and JV participating in a myriad of classes, accelerated dual enrollment, and honors, showing determination to be great students. And whereas the leadership qualities of this group of young ladies is evident due to their involvement in student government, many civic clubs, and extracurricular activities within CHS and the community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Ricky Shelton, Mayor of Cookeville, on behalf of the entire City Council, do hereby proclaim a profound sense of appreciation to this CHS Lady Cavaliers soccer team for their great season, and do applaud them for their representation of Cookeville, and encourage all citizens to join in this recognition of a job well done. Thank you, ladies. We have Principal Ward and Coach. If y'all would like to get up and introduce the students, Coach, you want to do that? Just.
So here we have Bailey Oaker, seniors.
If you want to go to the mic so everybody can hear, if you don't mind, Coach. Appreciate that.
Got Caroline Taylor, Mariah Stump, Darby Limer, Abby Putz, Abigail Brown, Adelia Birdwell, Laura Cummins Gleason, Zoe Dennis, Kat Livingston, Molly Crabtree, Addie Williams, and Lauren Turnbull.
Awesome. Anything else you want to say, Coach, while you have the mic?
We thank the community for the support that we had this season, and I know we are all we're blessed to be from such a great community, and we're proud to represent it.
Awesome, thank you. Tracy, how do you want to quickly? You want to do the picture, and however you want to organize them is fine. You want them all behind? There you go. We'll just stay seated probably. And let them stand behind us. Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Tall person? Okay, everywhere.
However you want to do it. They all can get behind us. I think they all can get behind us.
Can we do that?
Yeah, they can get in between us.
We probably can. We could try one. We'll try.
Okay.
We'll try with one with all.
You deserve it.
Squeeze in like you're trying to defend a goal or something. There you are.
I'll count to three and everybody smile.
Okay.
And I'll take 2 or 3 pictures. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And let's get some with, like we had it first with the people in front.
Okay.
Get an action photo?
Action photo.
I got a soccer ball in the truck.
Down here, I mean, if y'all can even kind of do this, just a little bit.
Great season for you ladies.
Yeah, great.
Good job. Great job.
All right, one more guy.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, that would be good. If
That's
you
cute.
feel like that would work. That's more comfortable girls are right.
There you go.
Girls know the deal.
They're cute.
Everybody ready? 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3.
All right.
Thank you.
Good job.
How you doing?
Okay, y'all are all welcome to stay and enjoy our meeting. Or you're welcome. We'll take just a moment if you want to slip out. We understand. That's quite all right as well.
Yes, proud of you. See you in January. See you in January. That's right. That's right, ladies. Thank you.
Okay, item 5, old business, consider approval of minutes of council meeting held on October 29th, 2015. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? And I'll vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Item 6, the consent agenda, 6A, set a date, December 17th of 2015 for a public hearing on ordinance 0151131, rezoning a portion of tax map number 6431.02 from RS20 single family residential to CI commercial industrial mixed use. And then 6B, consider awarding bids for refuse, recycling, and cardboard containers from Public Works Department. Is there a motion to approve the 2 items on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Item 7, new business, 7A, hold a public hearing, consider on first reading of ordinance 0151026, closure and abandonment of an undeveloped alley right-of-way located south of East 6th Street between North Dixie and North Jefferson Avenue and declaring it as surplus. Mr. Mills.
Mayor and council members, the location of this alley proposed for closure depicted on the screen. You can see the adjoining properties here, and we did receive a petition signed by the owners of all 7 properties, including this property in which the alley dead ends. The alley has a approximate length of 425 feet, and the width, according to a submitted survey, is 12.5 feet. And based on these dimensions, the alley right-of-way consists in total of 5,313 square feet. And again, there are 7 parcels that are contiguous with this. Again, they've all adjoining property owners have signed a petition requesting that it be closed. The provisions for closing alleys and undeveloped right-of-ways within the city are specified in Title 16, Chapter 4 of the Municipal Code, and include the submittal of a request, the submittal of a survey, confirmation that the property owners have agreed, review by the applicable departments, approval of the Planning Commission, approval of the council, and then purchase of the property by the adjoining property owner. So each property owner would have the right to purchase half of the width of the right-of-way for the length of the property which they front. The estimated value that we've established on this is at $2.02 per square foot for the majority of the right-of-way. There is a electrical easement in the southern part of this property for a distance, I believe, of approximately 200 feet. For that portion, the value would be reduced by 25%. Again, this request has been reviewed by the Planning Commission and approved, subject to the retention of a utility easement and compliance with all provisions of the Municipal Code, and the Planning Department concurs with this recommendation.
Thank you, sir. At this time, we will open the public hearing portion of the meeting for this agenda item. Is there anyone that would like to speak to this matter in the public now? Okay. We'll close the public hearing portion and we'll open the business portion. So is there a motion on the item?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion among the council. Seeing none, all vote.
Yes votes, motion carries.
7B, hold a public hearing and consider on first reading ordinance 0151027, amendment to the zoning code to reduce the off-street parking requirements for high-density residential development in the central business district. Mr. Mills.
Mayor and council members, at your September 2015 meeting, we unanimously approved ordinance number 0150821, which established provisions for higher density residential development within the central business district. At this same meeting, the council requested that the Planning Commission revisit a reduction in the off-street parking requirement in the central business district for higher density residential development. The Planning Commission, at its July 2015 meeting, did not approve the Planning Department's recommendations to reduce the off-street parking requirement in the central business district. Our current requirement for townhouses, condominiums, and efficiency apartments and multifamily dwellings in all zoning districts where such uses are permitted is 1.25 spaces per bedroom per dwelling unit for the first 50 dwelling units, and 2 spaces per dwelling unit for every dwelling unit exceeding 50 dwelling units. As was reported by the Planning Department at the July Planning Commission meeting, an analysis of parking standards from several other cities indicated that the city's requirement exceeded those of the examined cities. The average requirement from cities examined was 2 parking spaces per dwelling unit. On the screen, as it indicates the current areas that are zoned as central business in the city of Cookeville. The areas in yellow are areas that the city planning department's identified as vacant properties that could be potentially developed for higher density residential development. These areas consist of approximately 6 acres. So we believe the impact, if it is approved, would be minimal based on the number of developments that could occur. This is a list of the cities that the planning department reviewed and compared with the city of Cookeville in terms of parking. And in our analysis, we found no other cities that had a higher parking requirement than the city of Cookeville. In the opinion of the planning department, reducing the off-street parking requirement would have a minimal impact on the downtown. The area, again, that central business that I had on the screen is 62 acres, and only about 6 acres is available for development of this type. And assuming that all this vacant land was developed, you could only have a total of 171 dwelling units, which is based on the newly adopted density requirement of 1,500 square feet per dwelling unit. We did a comparison of a proposed development that we have on what the impact would be by reducing the parking requirement. At the current requirement, a 30-unit, 60-bedroom development would require 75 spaces. Reducing it to 1.1, which is recommended in the ordinance and by the planning department, is 66 spaces. And then the state average that we found is 2 spaces per unit, which would be 60 spaces. The Planning Commission again has recommended against reducing the parking requirement. The Planning Department, however, does recommend for approval of an amendment to the zoning code to reduce the minimum off-street parking requirements for townhouses, condominiums, efficiency apartments, and multifamily dwellings located within the central business district to 1.1 space per bedroom, with any fraction of a space rounded up to the next highest number.
Thank you. At this time, we'll open the public hearing portion of the meeting. Does anyone like to speak to this matter? Okay. We'll close the public hearing portion. Is there a motion on the item?
So moved.
Second.
Second. We have a motion and a second. We'll now open it up for discussion.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
Mayor, if I could, I've got to tell you, I've asked myself more than once why I've spent so much mental energy and time on this project when it seems on the surface to be no big deal. And thinking through it, I really just got a good answer a couple days ago. And really the answer in my mind has to do with the difference between good and great. As we've been asked to reduce the parking requirements from 1.25 to 1.1 per bedroom. And I would say initially, just as James has pointed out, this is not a request that asks us to go where no man has gone before. These kind of numbers are working very well and very effectively in Morristown, in Hendersonville, in Gallatin, in Lebanon, in Jackson, in Bristol, and Cleveland, and the list goes on and on. So these are things that have a historical and geographical, when we put them in that context, we see that these are workable, we see that these are doable. And in my mind, after spending more time than I've spent on any other issue, certainly with this term of my term on City Council, I have no doubt about the fact that this is going to be a better project for our community if we grant this request. And let me just take a minute and tell you why. Number one, it doesn't hurt anyone. It doesn't hurt the folks who want to do development down the street at the conference center. In fact, I had lunch with a couple of them a few weeks ago, and they told me they have aspirations of residential units in the central business district, and this adjustment will actually make theirs a better project. Number two, it doesn't hurt the public. It does not cost us one single public parking space. There's some kind of perception out there that maybe it does. It does not. So it doesn't harm anyone. And let me talk just a minute about who it helps. Number one, it helps the residents who will live in those units. By granting this adjustment, what we're going to find is that development will turn into more than just bricks and pavement, and it's going to be an aesthetically more attractive place for them to live because there'll be room for a green space. It will improve their image. It will improve their enjoyability of living there. It'll be more compelling and more attractive. In addition to that, if we grant this request, in all likelihood, there will be additional amenities like coffee shops where they can get a cup of coffee and a bagel maybe to have additional experience in terms of living there. So the residents will win because it will be a better place to live because of attractiveness, beauty, and the amenities there. So they will win. The businesses in that area, in my view, will win. I think all of us up here either have been or currently are owners of businesses or have been, and we understand the value of increased traffic. And we owe it to the business community there to make this the very best possible project we can make this. You all remember some time ago when it was like a ghost town. And lots of empty spaces, lots of empty shops over there. Cityscape stepped up and did a great job. The city got involved over there. The banks with some special financing got involved over there. But the lion's share of the credit should go to those individuals, those families who rolled up their sleeves, risked their capital, their time, their expertise, and poured their life into making those businesses. And folks, those, you know, you've been up and down those streets hundreds of times as we have. Those are not franchises. Those are not big box retail. Those are mom and pop businesses. And while we celebrate announcements like Academy, and God bless them, we're glad to have them here, we got to do the very best we can for the small business community, and they are helped there also. And we're talking about businesses like Bless Cookeville, like Foxleaf Bookstore, like the Uniform Shop, like the Wheeler's Eye Center. All those things, those mom and pop businesses who we owe it to, in my view, to make this a great project
project, not just a good project, and to get those residents to looking at that development, to get them to be attracted to it and live in there and walk up and down those sidewalks and walk into those stores with their cash, with their plastic or with their checks, and spend money there. And that's not to mention Cream City and Crawdaddy's and Seven Seasons and World Foods. All of those are right there that are working hard to make that a beautiful place, and we owe it to them to make this a great project. So they will benefit by this adjustment. And in addition to that, the developers will benefit from from this saying yes to this, because they will, in essence, have a better project. They'll have a more attractive project. They'll have a more compelling project. They'll have a more marketable project, because when people come up, they'll see something that looks nice on the outside, not just nice on the inside, because of the additional green space, because of the amenities the developers will rent. And image really does matter. Those of you who've been in business knows that that's exactly the case. So if the residents win, if the businesses win, if the developers win, I'm of the opinion that the community wins. Everybody wins with this adjustment. You know, I read somewhere, and I wish I remember where and who wrote it, but the biggest enemy of great is not bad, because we can usually tell great from bad on almost anything on any level. The greatest enemy of great is good. The greatest enemy of great is good. And in spite of the fact that the residents will benefit, the businesses will benefit, the developer will benefit, they cannot take this from a good project to a great project. That responsibility lies with us right here. And tonight, with a push of a button, we can take it from a good project to a great project. That's our responsibility, to provide that kind of leadership and that kind of vision. And I say, if we vote this down, we vote for good, and good is good. If we vote this up, we vote for great. And as an elected public servant in this community, I cannot sit here in good conscience and vote for good when great is stared us in the face. And see, that was my problem all along. That was my struggle. It wasn't about ratios. It wasn't about even parking. It was about good or great. Folks, we're not a good community. We're a great community, and we need to provide great leadership. And for all those reasons, I have to vote for great. I have to vote yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to be, is my mic working? Yeah, this one's right. Excuse me. Make sure I have a microphone. Thank you for the opportunity here. I want to talk about this, and I'm going to be a little bit more brief than Dwight here. While this property is private, it is perceived as public parking. If a four-story residence unit is built, this would do away with the current parking lot. No other property owners in the central business district have come forth to express their interest in joining Mr. Gall in requesting a lower parking requirement per bedroom. Public parking is inadequate for the current growth in this area. This is a good problem in one sense, but it is still a problem nevertheless. While the businesses on the west side would like to have more people come more often, I don't believe they would if they would see the expense of losing the current, convenient, and available parking in this area. So if a residential unit is built, it needs to address and serve the residents in that space and the space for a number of guests to park and not infringe on the existing public parking in this area. The difference in 1.25 versus 1.1 parking spaces is only 9 parking spaces. So it's not to kill this deal, it's just to get a little more parking in this area. With current conversations, the likelihood is that the west side of our downtown is going to change dramatically in the near future. Our central business district is no longer static, but moving and evolving. My belief, and that of the Planning Commission, is that our own central business district is and will change further. Even now, the Planning Department is doing an overlay of this area at the request of the West Side Merchants Association on what zoning should be in this area. This being said, we should proceed cautiously using the Planning Commission, the Board of Zoning Appeal, and the council in determining zoning and codes that are beneficial to all property owners and developers. To me, this request is more like a spot zoning, which we do not allow. I move to deny and keep at 1.25. Thank you.
Okay. I've gotten involved in listening to both sides over the last month. I've talked with Mr. Gall, who I consider a friend, and the developer, and his reasons for the project, and they're very good. He's putting an upscale project in that area. And the other person that I've talked to that I give great credence and that has decided me is Mr. Staffney, who's chairman of the Planning Commission. I appointed him when I was mayor back many years ago to the Planning Commission, and he's been chairman for the last several years. And his thoughts were that to change this to 1.1 was premature. He thinks that the Central Business District needs to be enlarged and changed, and that we change the parking as part of that, doing an overall enlargement of the central business zone. And I've come around to that philosophy, and for that reason, I'm going to vote against the decreasing it to 1.1.
Thank you. Thank you, council members. I'll try to be brief. Just let me say, I'm very proud of sitting up here with you guys. Your arguments and your reasoning and your debate points, I find very compelling. Dwight, you did a great job in presenting your point. And I appreciate the time and effort you've put in there. While I do respect that, I lean towards leaving it at 1.25. Also, just let me give you just a few points. In some ways, it feels like if we don't do this, we're going to hinder development. I just don't feel that way. I don't think that the city fathers, the folks that have preceded us, and the folks that are sitting here right now, are trying to do anything that hinders development down there. I think what we've done is we've done a lot of things to try to incentivize development down there. Secondly, I think that, and I think these things that we have done makes it attractive to developers even at a 1.25. I feel that strongly. I got another simple argument. I mean, it's great to go to increase the density and have less parking spots, but once it's gone, it's gone. Once it's gone, it's gone. You can't all of a sudden come up. You can't come up and say, we need to create more parking spaces there. You just can't make it smaller and do it. So, I've been a little bit disappointed that we haven't spent time looking at, maybe trying to provide a variance. James, could we have done this as a variance?
Well, the developers could apply for a variance and go before the Board of Zoning Appeals. They still can. I mean, if this doesn't pass, they could still go to the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Yeah, because and why I digress there just real quickly is because if this is indeed going to be a private development, it's going to be gated and things like that, then I can see why if people that would help me a little bit better. But we haven't really done a whole lot of searching for parking down there, and really have addressed, Dr. Womack, I appreciate your comments about how we really haven't addressed the whole entire central business district and what we're trying to do and how we can avoid any parking issues. So. And I guess lastly, and as much as I like to compare myself to other cities and see what they're doing, a lot of times I'll follow their lead because I'm a great imitator. But sometimes I feel like sometimes maybe Cookeville needs to take the lead, and I think the added space for parking, the extra 9 spaces, won't hinder development. I don't think it'll discourage it. I think we've done lots of things to encourage it. And as far as green space goes, Dwight, I appreciate that's a great argument, but if you've got more parking spaces, you've got more space, you've got allowability for more trees and more green areas with good smart parking. So I'm going to vote. I'm going to stay with the 1.25 for that reason. But I would certainly like to see our council continue exploring this and try to make, like Dwight, you said, great argument, go from good to great.
Obviously, as you've heard the arguments, it's a 3-2. I want to make some points, though, that, truly, this has absolutely not one thing to do with public parking. period. And we can talk about public parking, but that lot has been used as public parking simply because it's been vacant for all these years. It is private property, and it is allowed to be developed, and it's going to be developed, and it ceases at that point to be public parking, or somebody could, as it has been done in the past, fence it off and not allow public parking now. So to make a point that this diminishes public parking is not the case, because it doesn't. While it's been used that, it's not. And we've identified other areas of parking next to Deborah's Design and behind Regents Bank, and we're making those more available. So there is public parking. I obviously fully respect our citizen board that we've all appointed, or some of, over time has been appointed, but I also fully respect our planning department and Mr. Mills, who we hire to make these decisions and to guide us toward these decisions. And he's done the research on this, and we've been to Tennessee Municipal League meeting, we've been to National League of Cities meeting, and every one of those talks about to encourage downtown growth. We should be encouraging living downtown. Millennials, which is the biggest area of growth in this population base, they all want to live downtown. They want to live where they can walk. They don't want cars. They want to be able to walk and be close to things. And so while this is only, as they said, this is 9 spaces, you have 30 units. I think I don't know how, I don't understand for the life of me why this is such an issue, because you've got 30 units. To drop it to 66 spaces, that's assuming that every person has 2 cars and the cars never leave, that it would ever run out of parking spaces. So, and you'd still have 6 spaces left over. So I just don't understand why we're not encouraging this development downtown, which all the trends say is what needs to happen, which our planning department has researched and recommended for it to happen, and to say that 9 spaces, while it may develop without this change, I think it would be a greater project with it. But I mean, that's why we're 5 people with 5 different opinions, and that's fine. I just think we cannot mix the argument that it's public parking, because when this development happens, and they are required, if we leave it at this, required to have 75 parking spaces, those 75 parking spaces are not in any shape, form, or fashion open to the public. They will be for that site and that site only. So to make the argument that it's anything other than that is just simply whether they gate it or not. Technically, no one should park in their parking spaces because it's a development. So that's my 3 cents. You want to add some more?
Just one brief comment, Mr. Mayor. 2 things that have been pointed out. I don't disagree with Mr. Staffney, who I have a lot of respect for as a person and as chairman. I could support enlarging the central business district. But if 1.1 will work with the size it is now, and it will, we know that it will, then it will work if we enlarge it. I don't get the significance of that. And secondly, of all we've talked about the importance to the business, there's not a single business owner on the west side here tonight objecting to this change. If they felt threatened by it, they would be here. Believe you me, I've been one. So those 2 things ought to have some merit and ought to have some value in this discussion.
Can I say one other thing about the variance? It's true they could have applied for a variance and we could have encouraged them to do it, but the reason the planning department supports this is we're not looking at just this one track. Yeah. We're looking at the whole central business district, and that's why we think it would be an encouragement to the whole district. Now, it would apply to this one piece, but we're trying to look long range to encourage more development of this residential in the downtown. Now, we could have said, look, it doesn't apply, just go apply for a variance, but we felt like it's the right thing for the whole central business district.
So it's going to encompass the whole central business district.
Yes.
So Chuck, for just what you were talking about, whether the central business district is this big or this big, it's going to apply. And even if we do it now, it's for every vacant parcel of property that is in our central business district, and then if it's expanded, it would still apply to it.
Yes,
so
that's correct.
I don't understand why we wouldn't do that to encourage those parcels to have downtown living, because it is the absolute trend in America. And it's if I still owned a business downtown, I would want those people living there so they walk to my business and eat and shop and spend their money. for life of me don't understand. So, anyway, any other comments? Okay, the motion's on the table. It actually was a motion to approve. There was a motion and a second to approve. Dwight made the motion to approve. Jim seconded it. So we're voting to approve the motion of changing the density, just so everybody's clear. So
Changing it from 1.25 to 1.1.
down to 1.1, 1.25 to 1.1. So we're voting to change it, and the motion is read such that it is motioned and seconded to change it. So if everybody follow that? Seeing that, all vote.
2 yes, 3 no, motion fails.
Thank you.
7C, hold a public hearing, consider on first reading ordinance 0151132, amending the budget of the Economic Development Fund of the City of Cookeville, Tennessee for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2016. Kimball.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this ordinance amends the Economic Development Fund for fiscal year 15-16 by increasing expenditures in the fund $60,000. This appropriation relates to a proposed property purchase coming up later this evening, in this evening's meeting. And the property's on Lee Seminary Road, and if you vote to purchase it, would expand the Highlands Business Park. One thing I will point out to you is there is no new or additional revenues to offset this. If we do spend this money, it would come out of fund balance. And the Economic Development Fund, we had projected a fund balance at the end of fiscal year 16 of $308,533. So that $60,000, if we do spend it, would come out of that and reduce the fund balance at the end of this fiscal year to just under $250,000. And I would recommend your approval.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
7D, consider approval of 2016 health insurance benefit plan and premiums. Ms. Emmel.
Yes, Mayor and Council, the city sponsors a health insurance plan for our employees, their families, and our retirees. This plan has been self-funded since 1998, which basically means that we try to set the premiums that the city, the employee, and the retiree pays into it to cover the expenses in that plan. Blue Cross Blue Shield is our administrator, and we're in the middle of a 3-year contract with them. We do have a stop-loss contract that covers catastrophic claims over $150,000. The plan covers, as of October 31st, we have 1,135 covered lives, and that is an increase from 2011. We had 1,091. The average age of our covered employees and retirees is 50.8 years, and the average age of all covered members is 38.4 years. Claims paid by the health plan since 2004 have continually increased. Last year in fiscal year 15, total claims paid out of the plan were $4,117,000. And on the offset of that, the fund balance of the plan, or the plan's reserves, have continued to decline over recent years. And we ended last fiscal year with a fund balance of just over $3 million. And you can see we had a high fund balance in 2008 of $4.6 million. So the combination of increased claims that we've been paying over the fiscal years have had a direct impact on our reserves in the fund balance. Just to show you, we have made some recent plan changes to the plans over the years. In 2011, we increased the deductible from $500 to $1,000 per member. In 2011, we also started an employee Get Fit program that we paid cash incentives to our employees. And we also contracted and partnered with Cookeville Regional Medical Center to allow our employees to use their employee clinic. The last premium increase we had was January of 2014, and we increased the single plan premium $112, of which the employees paid $15 of that and the city paid $97. And we increased the family premium $217, of which the employee paid $53 of that and the city paid $164. The Affordable Care Act has been implemented, and that has had a significant impact on our plan. And this is a list of some of the things that have impacted it. But the biggest thing I want to point out to you is the second item, which is that prescription co-pays, deductibles, co-insurances apply directly to the out-of-pocket limits now. So to give you an example of how that's affected our plan, in 2012, there were 60 individuals that actually met the out-of-pocket max for that year. So far in 2015, we've already had 256 individuals meet that out-of-pocket max. So once the employee the individual meets that out-of-pocket max, the plan picks up 100% after that. So that is one of the reasons, along with some other ones, that have caused health claims to go steadily increasing. We have an employee insurance committee that has been meeting regularly. We've talked about lots of options, so whatever changes here we're recommending tonight, we do not take lightly. We have looked at lots of different options and talked about proposals, and we've talked to Blue Cross Blue Shield, and she's come to our meetings and presented lots of different plans and options. But what we're going to recommend tonight is two changes, basically. We're going to keep the deductible at $1,000. And we're proposing increasing the out-of-pocket from $1,500 to $2,500. And then an increase to premiums, and I'll go through the increase in premiums here. We're proposing keeping the premium for single coverage the same at $428. And out of that $428, the city pays $373 of it, and the employee pays $55, so that will stay the same. We're going to increase the family coverage from $1,041 to $1,102. That's a monthly increase of $61, and that $61 increase is going to be paid $14 by the employee and $47 by the city. And that $47, we've calculated it out, and on just the general fund, that would have an impact of about $75,000 annually. But that's the increase for active employees, and as I said, the retirees are also on our plan, and there will be a slight increase for retiree coverage. And the retirees are subsidized based on their years of service. So if they've been here 15 years, the city pays so much of the premium. Up to 30 years, if they've been here 30 years, the city pays 80% of their premium and will pay 40% of their premium for their spouse. So it's hard to kind of calculate that in a general basis for what kind of impact that's going to have, because each one is different. But the family coverage for retirees is going to go from $973 to $1,034, and that's an increase of $61. And once they become Medicare eligible, their premium is going to go from $195 up to $219, an increase of $24. And the dental coverage, the retiree pays 100% of that, and those premiums will stay the same. And that's the changes we're recommending, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion.
Brenda, I have a question on the out-of-pocket on the single. You're showing $1,500 to $2,500. What is the out-of-pocket for a family?
The family's going to go up to $5,000.
But I see here, if I'm correct, fund balance of just over $3 million.
Yes, at the end of fiscal year 15, so that was June 30th.
Okay, and
15.
what's the, we're going to have to dip into that again, are we not?
Well, with these funding changes, Blue Cross Blue Shield recommends these premiums, and based on their funding, they're hoping that that makes us break even. So we're really not sure, Dwight. It depends on what we budgeted. We had estimated an increase in claims and projected eating into fund balance, but with these increases, hopefully not. Trying to guess what health claims are going to be in the next 12 months is kind of like shooting in the dark here. It's really our best guess. But these funding levels that Blue Cross Blue Shield recommends, based on their historical analysis of what they're projecting claims to be, should help us break even.
Have they given you a projection on on that? We don't know, we don't have any idea about those
Mike,
numbers.
do you have a number of
I
what
get,
they
well,
project?
I guess I'm getting to what I'm getting to. The mayor pointed out in our work session, you know, with 200,000 here, 200,000 there, $500,000. How long can we sustain? But the sustainability issue comes into play at some point. I mean, we want to keep cost at a minimum for our employees if we, you know, if we can. But at some point, the well goes dry, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Right, and that's what we've been kind of looking at it every year, and you're going to have to look at it every year, you know, plan by plan, because health claims, I think I don't know what the inflation rate on healthcare costs, but healthcare costs keep going up. And the bottom line is somebody's going to have to pay those costs, whether it's the city or the employee. So every year we've been looking at it and trying to see what's the best course of action for everybody for the plan.
As I brought up at work session, it is important to look well beyond now, but for sustainability long term. And I do want us, as we talked about, I know y'all are going to work toward this, but work towards some wellness components for our employees to encourage some wellness items that would help to make sure, or help to hopefully have a healthier workforce as well. So we'll work toward those over the next years as we talked about at work session.
Yeah, we can do that. The next time we're going to continue with the meetings with the health committee, and those committees are made up of a representative from each department, so
Sure.
that is something we can take a serious look at and try to implement going forward.
We'll give them some financial encouragement.
Exactly. Anything else?
Well, I agree with the mayor. I think that wellness and working, say, with the hospital to have a improved wellness program for our employees and their families would be a beneficial thing to all concerned.
Yeah, Councilman Womack, I appreciate what you're saying. Everybody said, I mean, this is a tough problem. I've been doing this a long time with county commission, city council, and this has been going on for forever. And so we're not. The other thing is too, we're not in this by ourselves. I mean, everybody's going through this. Every government institution. We just got back from the National League of Cities, and this is a huge problem for every city going on there. It's a huge problem for corporations out there. So we're not in this alone. I do appreciate the insurance committee and having those administrators and our employees on board with this, because it's always tough when you have to increase rates. That's never very popular, but having this committee approve of that is one of the reasons, was the primary reason why I'm going to vote for it. Okay, but I would encourage my administrators in this council to continue to look at creative solutions, diversification, maybe look at diversification of our plan amongst different employee members, as far as like high deductible, FSAs, HSAs, those sort of things. Those seem to be what most corporations seem to be looking at right now in order to lower their costs. Is that diversification? Maybe co-oping with other institutions. Maybe do that. So I just appreciate everybody's ability to kind of look at this in a rational way and try to come up with a short-term answer. But it's certainly not solved, and I think we're going to have to really work hard to try to keep up.
Nobody's really sure what the healthcare industry is going to look like another 2 or 3 years from now. But we felt this was kind of a balanced compromise, because the employees are taking on more risk by increasing the out-of-pocket. So they're going to be paying up a little bit more if they utilize it, and the city's putting in a little bit more. So it's kind of a balanced approach. It's not an easy answer, and it's not a long-term answer, but
I appreciate the hard work you guys have all done with it. So,
any other comments? All vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
7E, consider approval to purchase property at 2111 Lee Seminary Road, tax map 065, parcel 118.01. Mr. Davidson.
Mayor and council members, this particular piece of property is located at 2111 Lee Seminary Road. It joins our business park, specifically what we call Lot K inside the business park, and Lot K currently is 13.5 acres. This particular piece of property is a little over 1 acre, and we would incorporate this into Lot K. Lot K actually, as you can see on the screen, surrounds this piece of property where this house is located on 3 sides, so it just makes sense to incorporate this into this particular tract. The purchase price is $120,000. The county is sharing in this cost with us. We'd be splitting this cost 50-50. So again, it would increase the Lot K from 13.5 acres to about 15.6 acres, and essentially remove that house, that little jut out, whatever you want to call that, in Lot K. We'd be able to incorporate that and make Lot K just a little bit bigger. And again, the county willing to split the cost with us 50-50, so the cost to the city would be $60,000, but I would recommend approval.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion and second. Any discussion?
Did the county commission consider this at their meeting today, at Monday?
At Monday night, they did, yes.
And passed it?
Yes.
Okay.
Very good. All right. Seeing none, all vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
7F, consider authorizing the city manager to enter into an engineering contract to provide consulting engineering services necessary for the modification and repainting of the 15th Street water tank. Water Quality Control Department, Mr. Kelly.
Mayor and council, I'm seeking authorization for the city manager to enter into a engineering contract with Consolidated Technologies. This will be the third tank we've painted in the last probably 10 years. The CTI has done our other two tank painting jobs. It is the 15th Street tank or the Tennessee end zone tank, whatever you want to call it. Checkerboard. So,
Wrong
and we'll
color
be
orange.
talking to you about what you want to paint it. It's painted that way because of the old airport. That was a requirement to be painted at that way. It's got some surface rust on it, so we think it needs to be painted. The contract's not to exceed $75,000, and we'd recommend approval.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Motion second. Any discussion?
Ronnie, as a tech alum, I'd feel a lot better if it's purple and gold.
Well, you'll have a lot of input on that.
Really, I mean, okay, I'm serious about this, but will we have an opportunity to kind of discuss how?
Oh, sure.
Instead of checkerboard, it really would be nice to have something like Cookeville High School or Go Cavs or.
Yeah, we've talked about it.
Okay, great.
So we'll be bringing that back.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Any other comments? I'll vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
7G, consider declaring a surplus miscellaneous equipment and vehicles from the various departments. Kathy McLean.
Mayor and council, I apologize, but we have several slides. We're trying to do some house cleaning and late spring cleaning. We have lots of vehicles and the equipment that's outdated. In each department, I've got police, leisure services, and public facilities, public works department, gas, water quality control, and electric. And I'd like to have these declared surplus and sell them on govdeals.com, please. I recommend approval. There's several slides there. Keep going, Ronnie. I'm not going to read them all. We'd have to spend the night.
Okay. Be here all night. All right, Kathy. Mr. Mayor, Vice Speaker.
22 pages of items, and as she said, they will all be on govdeals.com, and the money would then go back in. Does it go to the various departments, or does it go in the general fund?
Back to the various departments.
Okay. Back to the various departments. Okay. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Discussion.
Oh, all right, Kathy. We're selling lots of things like file cabinets and all this stuff. I mean, does it mean we're going to have to be going out and replacing each and every one of these things?
No, I promise you, they're ready for the graveyard. They're so old and broken down and beat up, and I mean, we've used the last
Okay.
good at
Any
them.
other comments? All vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you. 7H, consider awarding vehicle bids for various departments. Ronnie Kelly.
Mayor and council, we have collectively, departments went together and bid out vehicles that were budgeted items in everybody's budget. We have bid those are in your packets, and we'd recommend the low bidder meeting specifications, and would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Discussion. We finally do have one local vehicle bidder,
Carlo.
so
That's
that's good.
Yay. All right.
Any other comments? All vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
7I, consider awarding bids for dump truck, backhoe, and boom truck. Ronnie Kelly.
Mayor and council, these are budgeted items in our budget this year. We have replaced a dump truck, a backhoe, and a boom truck, and we'd recommend the low bidder meeting specifications.
Are those various items the child of that already in the surplus? I mean, have you declared?
The backhoe, I think not this specific
Okay.
backhoe. We rotate them back to sewer plant, but yes, one of our backhoes will be in that.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Now we can have discussion, sorry. Any other comment? All vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
7J, consider awarding bid for TTU lateral replacement and rehab project. Ronnie Kelly.
Mayor and council, we are doing our infrastructure rebuild over in the Tennessee Tech Basin, and this is just the next project. We have bid it out. J&H Construction was the low bidder, $564,464, and would recommend the low bidder meeting specs.
Thank you. Motion? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion. Second. Second. Motion is second. Discussion. All vote.
5
Thank
yes
you.
votes, motion carries.
And 7K, consider awarding bid for south substation breakers, circuit switches, and relay panels. Tony Peak.
Mayor and council, solicited bid for items relative to the South Cookeville Substation 161 to 69 project and recommend low bid meeting specs.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion is second. Anyone would like to speak to the motion? All vote.
Thank you.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Very good. At this time, we will have time to hear any citizens that would like to address the council on any matter not related to the agenda. Is there anyone that would like to? Yes, ma'am. You come to the lectern and identify yourself, and you'll have 3 minutes on general relevance. And once the timer sounds, you can wrap up within 10 seconds, and comments should be directed to the entire council and not individual members. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. First, thank you to everyone here for all your efforts on our citizens' behalf. Second, since there really isn't another public forum for this, I'm bringing it up in here now. When someone wants to build in Cookeville, the city doesn't guarantee solid ground. So that is a risk a builder or developer takes on themselves. That is their choice. And it is the developer's choice to build on a wetland or sinkhole and take on that risk and potential ongoing costs like Walmart did. They built in 1997, and even this spring, they were dealing with new related issues to building in the building and parking lot. However, when the city and taxpayers are asked to be involved in taking on the risk, either directly or indirectly, that is a community concern. Since pilots are not a public process, I guess this is the time to strongly ask our and the Chamber's staff involved, our officials, and our and the IDB's attorneys, as well as anyone else the city retains for negotiations, to minimize or better yet, avoid both the short and long-term financial risks and the being stuck with partially destroyed and undeveloped land risks in the end deal. So I'm asking, I know you all work really hard and are very conscientious, and I'm just bringing up this particular point.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Anyone else? Well, we'd like to welcome the TTU journalism class. Thank you all for coming tonight. Welcome back first and third Thursday of every month. And come back. And, hey, make sure you write us a really good article about us too, okay?
Make us look good.
Yeah, make us look.
They're excited to be here, aren't they?
Yeah, they're very excited. A couple of them are asleep, I think. All right. Any comments from the council? Anything else? All right. We will be adjourned.